Being divided made the Hebrew kingdoms weak, and subsequently they were invaded by the Assyrian Empire. Remember them? They were the conquerors who liked to burn cities to the ground and impale prisoners on spikes. Ring any bells now? Anyway, the Assyrians conquered the Hebrew kingdoms, and in 722 BC the land was under their control. In 586 the Babylonians took Jerusalem and forced the Hebrews to move to Babylon. This exile became known as the diaspora. It is sometimes known as the captivity of Judah too, as the next picture will show you. Did you know that the Hebrews, also called Jews, were in a state of diaspora until as recently as 1945? Yes, they had no official homeland until the creation of Israel after the Second World War. That's a very long time to be homeless. Being in Babylonian captivity had some effects. They lived there from 586–516 BC, and it was here that Mesopotamian and Hebrew culture diffused, or mixed. For example, many of the Hebrew Old Testament stories, like Noah and the Great Flood, or Jonah and the whale, were taken from Babylonian mythology. The Hebrew Samson is the same as Mesopotamia's Gilgamesh. Noah is the same as Sudra. There are many others that we could mention. The biggest difference between Hebrews and their neighbors was their religious beliefs. Although they shared similar myths and stories, Hebrews were monotheistic instead of polytheistic. For Hebrews, Yahweh, God, was eternal. Mesopotamian gods could eat, sleep and die. Yahweh was a supreme being, whereas Mesopotamian gods each ruled a part of nature. Yahweh was considered by Hebrews to be the creator of the universe. For the Mesopotamians, the creator was separate to the gods. Yahweh was, according to Hebrew belief, above nature, all-powerful and fundamentally good. Mesopotamian gods had limited power and could be good, evil, or both. So it is essential to understand that what set the Hebrews apart from everybody else was that they were monotheistic. Right, now that we get the fact that they were monotheistic, what exactly did they believe? Well, their belief system and way of life can be summed up in the Ten Commandments that Moses was supposed to have brought with him on the way back to Canaan. They are the basic values that most Western societies still hold today. They include belief in one God, not worshipping idols or statues, not taking the Lord's name in vain, keeping the Sabbath holy, honoring one's mom and dad, no murder, no adultery, no stealing, not bearing false witness, in other words, not lying, and not coveting other man's stuff. In all, these 10 rules have been the basis for our legal systems today. I think that is amazing, don't you? The Hebrew Holy Book is called the Torah. It is also the first 5 books of the Christian Old Testament. These make up the basis for all Hebrew laws and customs that are still observed nowadays. Other beliefs include the idea of prophets, messengers of God. They would tell people when God was upset with them, and unless they followed God's word they would be punished. They believed that evils in the world are caused by mankind's sins. Therefore, the more good we can do, the better the world would be. Their place of worship is called the synagogue. Jewish priests are given the title rabbi, which means teacher. Hebrews have always believed in the covenant between God and a Hebrew or Jewish nation. Basically, it is an agreement between God and the Hebrews. For example, God promised Israel to Abraham, he promised Moses he would rescue them from captivity, and the Ten Commandments were a sign of this. This idea of covenant forms the basis for our modern-day ideas of contract law. The ideas and traditions of ancient Hebrew society still resonate in modern-day Jewish culture. You can read them for yourself. Finally, we can know about the history of the Hebrew nation by looking at the Dead Sea Scrolls. These were found in a cave in the desert and date back to the 2nd century BC. They are basically the Old Testament written down. That is like way cool. So that is the history of the Hebrew nation. Thank you for listening so well. Mr. Dikopoulos will tell you what to do next. Goodbye.